Hey guys, yeah, I don't care how late it is, I'm cranking this one out for y'all. Okay, so one of the several amazing additions to the anime ads right out of the gate to this episode are we get illustrated shots of Kid reflect upon his life up until now, and again, a very, very simple moment, but it does well at adding just that little bit extra context to his character without needing any dialogue. It's one of those moments where you get it. All the struggles, all the betrayals, it's made him stronger, more resilient. It's everything he's been through up to this point. It's made him who he is now, and just a much stronger person. And I do admit, just getting something as simple as this is gonna make what happens to Kid later on, once he makes it out of Wano, sting all the more. If I'm being honest. But for now, something as small as this also adds a lot more. Adds a lot of. As this also made a lot of Kid's greatest hit moments against Big Mom in this episode all the more satisfying to me. And the animation on Kid just doing all this stuff like magnetizing Big Mom and all that other shit was especially fluid, even if it was Law who delivered the final blow. Kid still really got his moment in this episode. Also, I gotta say, Big Mom turning her broken bones into homies to repair the limb was a pretty cool addition to this fight, and her combining all three of her homies to create that evil spirit witch thing. That all this shit went hard. The art and animation went super fucking hard in this episode, and it shows. But okay, yeah, obviously we still need to talk about Law, as he was kind of the star of this episode in the sense where the line again. Even though there was a lot of great animated moments in this episode, you could kind of see that in some ways he got the lion's share of the big moment in this episode, the big moment with the animation in this episode, and the lion's share of the budget definitely went to him. And Big Mom, which honestly, well, they did Law's killing assault on Big Mom justice in this episode, and the animation was stellar across the board. I do kind of wish Toei had just adapted chapters 139 and 140 in full. The thing about this episode is we have technically reached the conclusion to this fight with Big Mom, and the next episode is really just going to wrap it all up. But I do wish we could have just wrapped it all up within one episode. But aside from that, again, good on Toei, because they really wanted to make us feel the impact of Law's all or nothing final attack on Big Mom. And not to sound dramatic about it, but I kind of did feel the impact of Law's final assault. Even just watching it through a screen, I really felt a shiver, a shiver, or just a shake down my spine of it. It felt like I was there in some ways. And overall, in both big and small ways, I do like how the anime adapted this fight, because I think it did do a lot more to really reinforce just how much more of a requirement it was for Law and Kid to combine their strength to take Big Mom down, and even just kind of made this fight better in the anime overall, in my opinion. I'm not to say I hated the fight in the manga, but it always felt like there were something missing from that. For as good as it was, and for as good as it did showcase both Law and Kid's strengths and whatnot, and just how they combine themselves to defeat Big Mom, I think something about the way the anime handles this just really feels much more impactful. I don't know. But honestly though, if I do have a genuine problem with this episode, it's that the Big Mom fight segment of the episode was so good that everything else was just kind of seemed pointless by comparison, other than to catch up with what Momonosuke is doing, which, yeah, spoiler, he's still dragging Onigashima. And while that scene did come along with a very nice, albeit brief, scene of Kaido and Luffy trading blows, I feel I need more of that to say this part of the episode was worth it, because, honestly, this is definitely an episode where you could have cut all those other bits out, and you wouldn't have lost anything. The episode kind of survives perfectly fine on its own with just a Big Mom fight, although I get the idea they're trying to play a Big Mom struggle and determination to save Wano, which, in that respect, I guess the added bits do more of these moments. Do more for these moments than the manga did. But it's still kind of the same problem, unfortunately, which is that the anime and the manga really do go for that sort of Dragon Ball time of trying to drag this out as long as possible. And while I still maintain the anime is kind of doing this better than the manga. It is a little annoying and kind of just further draws attention to what I think is the biggest problem with this arc, which is that I honestly think Oda had a really rough time pacing out the whole climax with Kaido. I genuinely kind of think that. Like, I think the whole Kaido Onigashima part of this arc is the part that really gets dragged down a lot. Which, final note on this scene, the editing in the moment in how it cuts from Momonosuke to the festival was very rough. Like, it was a little bit jarring in certain respects. Yeah. Although I guess one thing, big thing to talk about with this moment is with I guess you could say that with Law's attack, he provided the perfect space in order for Momonosuke to perfectly do what he needs to do in order to take it down, in order to take Onigashima down, like that little space, that hole he made. Weirdly, that hole Law made is actually going to play a part in I think how he saves Onigashima and how he saves Wano. But also. That aside, though, we also do get a small scene of Zunisha beginning to make contact with Momonosuke, and not a whole lot to say there other than this is where the fun begins, so to speak. Like, all the pieces are on the board, all the players are here, and all of us who've read the manga, and even some anime onlys, all know what's coming next. And I'm not gonna lie, the more I've thought about what's to come, the more I might have the most mixed reaction out of any reviewer in the community when that episode drops, because I think because I saw film Red, a small part of the wow factor has already been ruined for me. But that's not to say I think it'll be bad, a reveal, either. It's just, when it does happen, don't expect me jumping with excitement in the review. My reaction is going to be pretty measured, honestly. I will say, it's one of those things where I'm going to like it, but it's, just the whole wow factor, I'm not going to have as much of that with my review, I think. I will say, though, the news that they brought in a couple of cartoonists for the episode in question is kind of intriguing to me. I mean, it does make sense, but yeah, that's going to be pretty. It's going to be interesting how they mix those two styles together, traditional traditional Looney Tunes probably style animation with Japanese animation. It's going to be interesting to see how. It's going to be interesting to see how that plays out. Also, on a different note, I love how Kid and Law still find the time to talk absolute shit to each other in this episode. They're fighting one of the emperors, but still try and one-up the other. They chastise Luffy for being reckless idiot, but then you got moments like this, and I'm like, all three of y'all are idiots. But yeah, guys, that's pretty much all I got for this review. If you enjoyed the video, comment, subscribe, follow me on Twitter, Analyst Crunchyroll, be sure to notification bell, hit the subscribe button, and just share the video around, guys. Dark Knight signing off. Later, everyone.